Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Silver Lining. I'm your host, Julia Vi, Miss South Florida for 2020, and I am so excited because I have a brilliant guest. She is kind, she is gorgeous, and she is a businesswoman. So please welcome Miss Arizona 2019, Jacqueline Thomas. Hi, Jacqueline.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. I know you're incredibly busy, but I just want to, before we start, congratulate you on your amazing year as Miss Arizona 2019. You did an amazing job representing the organization.
Oh, thank you. That's so sweet. It was, after competing for 7 years, it was definitely a dream come true to win the title and get to serve my year of service.
Awesome. So I have a bunch of questions for you, as you know, so I'm going to get started if you're ready.
Yes, let's do it.
Okay. So my first question for you is when and how you first got involved with the Miss America organization, and what do you believe you learned in those years that led you to your Miss Arizona win?
Oh, so much. So I grew up watching Miss America when I was young with my mom, but I didn't know that it was possible to get involved. And I didn't know anything about the teen competition either. Otherwise, I might have done that when I was in high school. But I had recently graduated from high school and I was heading to college, and I came across the girl who won Miss Arizona 2013, who I went to junior high with. And I was just like, oh, our backgrounds are the same. There's no reason why I couldn't do that. So I reached out to her and she replied, and I was thrilled because I wasn't sure if she was going to reply or remember me from junior high. And she put me in contact with all the right people. And my first week of my freshman year of college, I won my first local, and the rest is history. But I will tell you, even though I was super excited and I won my first local at 18, I had no idea what I was getting into. And I think that that can be true of a lot of people the first year in their organization if they don't have any previous experience or know people who have competed before or compete in the teen division, et cetera, et cetera. But I love the experience, and I feel like each year I grew a little bit more and a little bit more. And then during the summer of 2016, I technically took a year off from competing so I could do an internship in Washington, D.C. And the thing that was cool about that summer was that Miss America orientation was held in D.C. that summer. So I got to help the then Miss Arizona arrange meetings with our senators and representatives on the Hill. And then because of that, I also got invited to a Miss America orientation, or like a Miss America reception, where there were several Miss Americas and the heads of the organization and all the class of 2016. So that was the year that Savvy won Miss America. And it was during that summer that I saw what being a title holder could do for your professional life and your resume and just your personal development. And I got serious about it. So I told myself in 2016 that that was going to be my main focus until I either aged out or won. And the next year, and up until that point, 2016, I hadn't even made the top 10. So the next year was my senior year of undergrad, and I made the top 10 for the first time and got a couple of other awards here and there, like a finalist for social media. And then I graduated from college and was focusing on my career and also competing and really, really building lady leaders. And I think that there was this huge transformation that happened when I stopped focusing on what the organization could do for me and what I could do for the organization. So I think it's really, really important that whatever goal you're working on, that you have your mindset correct. Because at the end of the day, the organization is to be one of service, and it does amazing things for you. You know, you're the one that gets to wear the sparkly hat and go to events and dress up. And I feel like as girls, we love that. That's a huge reason why we do it. But also it's to give back to the community and work with Children's Miracle Network and work with our individual social impact initiatives. So once I had that mindset change, I also decided that I was going to put the same amount of effort into every single phase of the competition. So I completely redid my wardrobe. I hired a coach for the first time. I made sure that every single aspect of the competition was as good as I could get it. And that year I was second runner up. I was a double prelim winner. I was a top fundraiser, won the social media award.
Wow.
And I was first runner up for the quality of life, which I'm still a little bit sad about. Never officially won that award, but that's okay.
You were robbed.
Yes. It's okay though. I know that the other girls have done a lot of good work too. So that was the year that everything kind of clicked and came together, and I felt really comfortable on stage. But I also felt like, in hindsight, looking back, I was still like striving for the title, as in like I have something to prove. I was telling myself like I am this, even though I didn't feel like that yet. And I feel like the significant change the year that I won this last year was like I no longer felt like I had anything to prove. I felt like I already was the title. I already was Miss Arizona. And then I won.
I absolutely love that. You've had quite a journey, and like two things that you said especially echoed with me, that when you first enter the organization, I feel like this is so true for so many girls. I entered as a teen at 14 and I had no idea what the organization was. Like you said, I joined it because I wanted to wear a sparkly hat and be known for that, but then I found out it was so much more than that, and that a year of service came with it, which I found out upon winning my first title. But the way it changed me, the way it shaped me, and the meaning behind it meant so much more than any crown or sash. And I also love what you said. You said, instead of thinking about what the organization could do for me, I thought about what I could do for the organization. And the organization is one of service. So once you shifted that mindset into thinking, how can I positively impact my state? That's what made you the perfect title holder.
Well, thank you. And I agree with everything that you're saying. And I think that shift is so important, because when I did a lot of studying, like self-studying, even before I worked with any coaches or sponsors of the Miss Arizona organization. And I looked at previous year's top 5 and what their qualities were, what their strengths were, from like every perspective, like from the inward to the outward. And the main thing that I kept coming up with was the first runner-up typically lacked in her platform in social impact development and passion, as opposed to the girl who won.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is a very significant distinction, because if you don't come into the title with an idea of how you want to impact your state, what your plans are for the job, and what kind of person you want to bring to the table of conversation for your organization, then it's just not going to work. And I think that if you have good judges, they can really tell that when you're interviewing and throughout the whole competition.
That's actually amazing advice, like picking up that distinction between what makes a winner and what makes a first runner up. And it's that passion related to the social impact initiative. And like you said, judges can tell when you're just choosing a platform for the sake of having one for competition, or if you really live it and believe in it. So I think that's a really great piece of advice, like truly a really good piece of advice, especially for me going into my first Miss competition. Like I believe in my platform fervently, and I want to make that very, very clear.
Yes, definitely. When I was working with one of the Miss Arizona sponsors who works with a bunch of other states, she's incredible at what she does. Her name's Heather Sumlin of Mental Management. That was actually one of the points that she wanted to make sure that I drove home in my interview, was that I didn't pick this platform because I competed in a pageant. I created the idea of Lady Leaders late in high school, and it was something that I wanted to do long after my time as Miss Arizona, and even make it something to do with my career. And I think that was also a huge part of the distinction. Now, I don't think that everyone needs to, make it a part of their career. I'm just really, really passionate about mentoring young women and making sure that this next generation has the tools, resources, and mentors that they need to accomplish their goals, especially since we live in America and anything is possible. So, yeah.
Yes, and what better person to lead a Lady Leaders campaign than a Miss America title holder? That's basically what the MA is about. So I think that's a perfect platform for you. And Now, moving on to my second question. So you mentioned that you worked for 7 years within this organization. So that means a lot of years of service. So I'm wondering
Yes.
how those years of service impacted you and impacted your community. You mentioned that service is a very important aspect of the competition to you. So how do you think it shaped you as an individual?
I think that who I am now as Jacqueline is a completely different person than when I even won my Miss Arizona title a year ago, and especially when I started competing at the age of 18. I had been raised in a family that really put an emphasis on volunteering and being generous and giving back. So that aspect of it was really easy for me. So I was raised in a very generous family that put a big emphasis on volunteering and giving back. So that aspect of the year of service and going to events and volunteering was really easy to get in the groove of. But I think that your first year, you're kind of, and especially when you're younger, or at least this was my experience, you're kind of trying to figure out who you are, what you
Sure.
believe, what makes you confident, and how you feel comfortable at these events. Because something that I don't think very many people know about me is that I am naturally very introverted. So I have had a huge personality change over the last 7 years, because as a title holder, you have to be outgoing, you have to be talkative, you have to be able to relate and have a conversation with almost anyone from any background. And I am so thankful for that change, because I just remember entering the competition and my freshman year of college being so pretty shy and introverted. And now public speaking is my favorite thing. I love public speaking. I don't want to play my talent for you, but I will talk for as long as you need. And I think that that's so important during the years that you're competing. And that's such an important life skill that can be transferred from your time in pageantry or competing to real life. And some of the organizations and people that I got to work with, like our national philanthropy partner, Children's Miracle Network, we have one hospital in Phoenix that is specifically a children's hospital, and that's the main hospital that we do work with in Arizona. I got to partner with multiple organizations. I helped head a leadership development for students at a community college in Paradise Valley. And that was actually very interesting because I was working typically with people that were transitioning from jail back into society.
Wow.
So that was something I never saw myself doing, but it made me so much more empathetic and able to communicate and help people that really did need help. Because I think that just because you made a wrong decision doesn't mean that that should be the end of your life. And I also worked very closely with an organization called Love Society, which also puts an emphasis on volunteering and community service, but specifically for young kiddos. And the majority of the work we did was with children's cancer patients that were at that Phoenix Children's Hospital. And lastly, the biggest organization that I did the most of my work with over the last year is called Arizona Foundation for Women. And that was a perfect partnership with Lady Leaders.
Mhm.
We together developed a millennial initiative that focused more on my generation, our generation, and young women that are in college and moving into the workforce, and how to give them resources and tools so that they can successfully transition from college into the workforce and have a community of people and values that they're passionate about and that they want to connect with.
And just in the few minutes I talked to you before our interview, you were already giving me tips on my career choice and what I could do. And I was talking to you for 20 minutes and I was like, whoa, so you're clearly very good at what you do. And I also think it's really inspiring how so many of the organizations you work with tie into your social impact initiative. You're clearly a champion of women, and that's a really exciting and amazing thing to see, especially in this day and age. And I also want to point out that it's actually so cool. It was definitely unexpected that you mentioned that you worked with people who were once in jail and rehabilitating their life now. That's something that you don't hear about often, but that's a really admirable cause.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I will say I was a little bit nervous during the first meeting, but I think that it was a huge growth point to totally get out of my comfort zone and work with these individuals that were really trying to get their life on track. They were making an effort. They were going to school. They were working their jobs. They were coming to this leadership group. And I wish nothing but the best for them. And I think that that very much also changed my perspective of that particular demographic and how they need resources and tools and mentors just as much as anyone else who hasn't gone to jail.
Certainly. My sister's actually a criminal prosecutor for the state of, or for Miami-Dade County rather, but she tells me that um, so many of the juveniles she initially dealt with, now she does murder and homicide, which is way more serious. But in the beginning, she dealt with a lot of, teenagers who were arrested, and, getting them back on track was such an important part of them becoming better. And,
Right.
you would think she's like a stone cold prosecutor, which she's boss, she's a boss, but
Right.
she does have empathy. And she mentioned how there was so much wasted potential there, and how she wanted them so badly to get back on track and to realize their potential. So, not every criminal is bad. Sometimes they can have a new start. So I definitely think that is amazing that you're doing that for people.
Right, absolutely. And another thing I wanted to touch on was during my years of competing, the people that you meet during your events and that are connected with you, whether it's through your social impact initiative or through some member of the organization's board, or that you like randomly meet at an event, are people that I felt like I would never have met otherwise. And they're never people that I would have worked with without this title, especially people that are in like a completely different realm than what I want to do professionally or like what I believe politically. And one of the things that I love about this title is that it essentially strips you of other titles and it makes everyone equal, and we all get a seat at the table, because at the end of the day, we're all working for the same cause, which is to better our communities.
I couldn't agree more. And I think that's such an important part of a title holder, is being to connect with so many different people, even if you don't necessarily agree with them or even see life the same way or have the same experiences. But that's what makes you a more well-rounded person. And even me as a local title holder, the fair down here, it sounds like, not the biggest title, but it's actually a huge corporation in South Florida. And just the people I was able to make connections with, like professional people and, so many people in my South Florida community, it's like transformed my year. And just thinking about the connections I could make if I had ever won a state title was really exciting.
Definitely. And I'm so excited for you.
I know, now I have Jacqueline Thomas rooting for me, so
Yes.
that's good luck. So now I want to move on to your scholastic career, which is very impressive. So you graduated from Grand Canyon University's Honors College in 2017 with your Bachelor's of Science degree in Business Management, which is very impressive. I also want to take the time to mention that you were top 5 at Miss America for the Woman in Business category, which is amazing. And I want to know what made you choose this career path. You mentioned to me before our interview that your father was a small business owner. So what do you hope to do with that degree in the future?
I loved my business degree at Grand Canyon University. I've loved my time at the Honors College. Highly recommend their resources. And also, one of the highlights of my year as Miss Arizona was getting asked to be the keynote speaker for the annual Honors College banquet, which sadly was canceled / went virtual because of COVID.
COVID.
Um, but anyway, when I was 8, so backstory to this. I have always loved American history and politics and government, and that's initially what I wanted to major in. But my dad is a small business owner, and my private university didn't necessarily have a poli-sci degree. So we made an agreement that my major would be a business major, so I would be like rounded out with general business skills and knowledge, as opposed to just like majoring in history, which is what I initially wanted to major in at Grand Canyon. And then our deal was that since my major was business, my internships could be political, legal, nonprofit, whatever I wanted, whether they were paid or not. So I think that that was the perfect combination to be able to get business skills and knowledge of how the business world works while also going after my passions. So I got to do several internships with our Arizona State Legislature in Washington, D.C., with a couple of different nonprofits and LLC, so, influencing policy in Arizona. And I think that that really helped me figure out what I wanted to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I worked before I won Miss Arizona, I worked at one of the biggest law firms in Phoenix to make sure that, is this something that I'm interested in? Like, how does the litigation law firm works? Because also, ever since I've been in high school, I've wanted to pursue law school. But the thing about law school is that you don't have to have any specific major or background to get in,
Exactly.
which is, I think that's great. And it kind of gives people the freedom to follow their passions or do what they want to do. Law school is mainly based on your LSAT score and undergrad GPA. So grades are definitely important, but not what particular industry your undergrad is in. And since then, I have been continuing along the track of law, politics, and now press. So I actually haven't announced this anywhere else, but I just got a position in Washington, D.C. to be the deputy press secretary for U.S. Customs and Border Patrol. And during my year as Miss Arizona,
I'm freaking out, guys. Like, she made this announcement on my show.
Yes. So during my year as Miss Arizona, I was fortunate enough not to have to work, and I was already done with undergrad. And I'm especially happy that I got to spend the first 6 months of my year doing as much as possible, because pretty much everything was shut down with COVID during the last 6 months. And I really became passionate about communication and press and the media and social media. And that's also a huge emphasis that the Miss America organization puts on training their candidates to do. And I had grown up watching the news a lot. I think it'd be very, very interesting to be a news anchor or a journalist. When I was in Washington, D.C., I actually did a communications fellowship, and I was reporting fellow for a news foundation in D.C. But I think that I wasn't ready to have the confidence to go after that. And because of all my experience with press and media and PR and marketing during my years Miss Arizona, it really launched me into this path of press that I've always wanted to do. And one thing that's cool about our current White House press secretary is that she has a law degree from Harvard. So it just goes to show that when you move into politics and following your passion or law or, whatever it is, you can make it work.
I so agree. And fun fact about Kaylee is that she, before going to Harvard, was at Law, and I'm at University of Miami, so go Kaylee.
Oh, nice.
And then she switched to Harvard, which is arguably a little bit more impressive, but is still the best in Florida, just saying. Fun fact.
Oh, definitely.
I love how I made your answer about myself. No. That is amazing. You're so accomplished, and I'm so excited for you. That job position is huge, and that's so exciting, and I think you'd be an amazing news anchor.
Thank you.
I think you'd be so perfect for that. And of course, with your pageant experience, I'm sure all the public speaking you've done and just keeping up appearances certainly will help you transition easily into that.
Oh, definitely. And I think that goes back to what you were asking about, how has this experience changed me? Because even the year as Miss Arizona, like, you go into it expecting to be one thing and it turns out to be a completely other thing. And that's not a bad thing. I think that's just the reality of the job, because you don't know exactly what it's like until you're actually in it and doing it. And I think it's just been so important to be adaptable and flexible, to learn and think on your feet. So I always say that I feel like I won Miss Arizona as a girl, and now I feel like I'm a woman because of the life experience that you get to experience during your year. One of my mentors, she says that during your year of service as a state title holder, you gain about 5 years worth of life experience. And I think that is true. Maybe not quite that much because of COVID cutting things off this year, but the different people that you meet, like we were talking about, that you interact with, completely change your life dynamics no matter how old you are. And I also think that just because I was a business major and didn't go to school for like journalism or poli-sci or pre-law or whatever, I just want to encourage younger girls that you don't, just because you major in something doesn't mean you have to end up doing that.
Absolutely.
And just because you find something else that you're passionate about doesn't mean that you're not qualified because of your major. I think that there's this misconception of like, oh, I just want to do, and I'm a perfectionist, so I'm speaking to myself, like, oh, I just want to be like perfect. I want to make sure everything lines up. And sometimes it looks like it's not lining up, but every experience prepares you for the next experience. And I think that if you just stay diligent and stay focused and chase after your calling, it's all going to work out.
Every experience prepares you for the next experience. I love that. And I could not believe that's more true. And I actually was going to say, all the life experience you got as Miss Arizona is probably so life-changing, but I dare say that you got even more because of COVID, because you girls, your entire class, have been challenged in such a unique way, handling the the pandemic, like interrupting the middle of your year. Because I remember at the end of February, that's when the fair ended for me, and everything was perfectly normal. And then March hits, and you're like, whoa, what's happening? Like I'm on online school right now. Like that must have been a huge shock to you, but you obviously handled it very well, and that probably gave you a very unique sense of life experience for sure.
Yes, I think so. And I also think, I feel like there was really only one time during all this COVID stuff that I was like, of course that this would happen during my year. And I think that that's such the wrong mindset to have. I think it's like, instead of why me, like why not me? And I think that I was put in that position for a very particular reason, even if I may not understand or know that right now. But I think that it has to do with making sure that your value and your identity is not wrapped up in the title, because it makes me so sad when girls compete. And I competed for years and years, but I had to make sure that I knew that my worth, my value, my identity was not wrapped up in this crown. And I think that that's also why it was easier for me to kind of let it go sooner than the year would have ended. And also, I've made a very diligent effort to make sure that I had my life planned and other things going for me outside of the title. And I think that that is so, so important, no matter what stage that you're competing in, whether you've never won a local or whether you won your local or whether you won your state and you're now looking forward towards the future. So COVID actually gave me time to plan and think about and make sure that I had all my ducks in a row for the next phase of competition. And even though my path with my undergrad being different than my internships being different than what I'm doing now, I've kind of always have like this 10-year strategy ever since I graduated from college, because I'm very much an OCD person and a planner. But like I said, I think that it always works out.
I'm the same way. Are Jacqueline Thomas and I twins? No, I wish we were. But I'm the same way. I relate so much. And I hope you don't think I was being rude. I was just writing down your quotes because you're really hitting it off with the quotes today. I was like, she already like quoted like 4 things that I loved. And why me? Why not me? I like that. I like that a lot. I think I think that you're a very glass half full person. And I first noticed that because my show is all about positivity. And I first noticed that when you said, you didn't say, oh, well, my year got cut short. I only had 6 months. You said the 6 months I did have were like truly amazing and life-changing, and you didn't choose to look at the negative part of it. Of course, we're all human and we're all going to be annoyed by like a pandemic. Like that's inevitable. You don't always have to be like, yay, COVID, like no. But
Right.
you took the positive parts of it and you made your year the best it could be, and that's what's the most important thing for sure.
Definitely. And you know what? I think that it is a unique experience that my Miss America class will have to talk about more or less for the rest of our lives.
I mean, being a queen during a pandemic, that's like all of you. I am so lucky I'm getting to interview this class because you guys truly have such a unique perspective, and all such unique stories. It really is interesting. And some girls are serving 2 years, some girls are serving 1 year, like many girls like you who are like, well, I got to serve my time and now I'm moving on to my career path. And it's really interesting to hear everyone's different stories.
Oh, that makes me happy to hear that there are good perspectives during this pandemic.
Yes, definitely. So now moving on to your talent, your Miss America talent is piano. So when did you first get into playing, and what piece did you choose for competition and why?
I've been taking piano lessons since I was 4 years old.
Wow.
And when I was a teenager, like early in high school, I decided to get really serious about it. I took piano lessons until I was 21 years old, so about halfway through my time in college. And then it just got to be too much because my piano teacher was very strictly into classical music and you had to do 3 recitals a year. But I feel like that experience prepared me so much to compete. And I just realized as a teenager, I don't know where this is going to take me, but this extracurricular activity is a lifelong skill. It's like,
Mhm.
even if you are older and have different like physical ailments, like most people can still play the piano as opposed to other talents like dancing or cheer or whatever.
Yeah, like 80 years old and like doing a high kick. Playing
Yes.
it's a little easier.
So I just realized as a teenager, like, I don't know where this could take me, but it could be really cool. And this is something that I can do for the rest of my life. So I want to be diligent about it. And being on the Miss America stage and thinking about the decisions that I made as a teenager and how it kind of brought me to have a talent to play the piano at the Miss America stage, which I never thought would be an option or would be possible when I was younger, was a really, really neat experience to come full circle. I won my first prelim talent award in the Miss Arizona organization for playing a piece, Pirates of the Caribbean, because
I love that. That's so
yes, it's a crowd pleaser. It's fun. I had this like fun white cape and costume thing that went with it. Um, but the song that I won Miss Arizona with was a little bit different. It was the suite from the movie La La Land.
I love that. It's like the da 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 da.
Yes. So it's much more like pretty and romantic and just a completely different feel
That's a hard
from,
song though. It's really
oh yes. It was definitely a hard song. And I had to learn that new La La Land piece while working full time at the law firm. So that was definitely a new experience.
low. That's pretty easy. Sounds like a chill, laid back movie.
And then my president, or excuse me, executive director of Miss Arizona, she wanted me to play a Spanish classical piece for Miss America called Malagueña. And she just thought that it would be unique and something that no one else would do and kind of fit my personality. And especially with the direction that Miss America went this year, or the way we thought it was going to go. We thought that it would be good to just be focused on a more classical talent, because the rest of my resume and personality is just kind of like very classically focused. So I learned that piece for Miss America, and I got to play that on the Miss America stage and wear a red spicy Spanish gown, and that was super great experience.
That is so cool. I actually love that song, Malagueña. A girl who I compete with at Miss Florida, who's my very great friend, she also plays it. It's definitely a crowd pleaser. So you've had like a lot of fun
Oh,
pieces.
nice.
Pirates of the Caribbean, La La Land, and then the Fiery Latin piece, which we like.
Yes.
And performing on the Miss America stage is something that not a lot of people get to say. So that is obviously incredible.
Right. And I think that is very important to remember. It's like less than 5,000 women that have gone to the Miss America stage over the last 100 years. Now that Miss America is 100 years old. And I think that no matter like who wins, because we all know that only one person can win, just to get to that point, or even just to get to like your Miss State stage, is such a huge deal because of all that it requires of you and all that it takes to get there, and the fact that you have the confidence to stand up in front of people and perform and talk about what you're passionate about. That is no small feat.
Absolutely not. Absolutely. I so agree. It's a once in a lifetime experience. It's crazy that it's been less than 5,000 women. You wouldn't think over 100 years, but that's actually very accurate. And getting up on that stage takes so much confidence. I actually was watching a Jimmy Kimmel thing the other day where they asked pedestrians Miss America questions and gave them the same amount of time to answer them, and like none of them could do it. And it was like, okay, so every onstage question I flubbed or didn't do so great. I feel so much better now.
Oh no, oh my goodness. Okay, that was actually also during the last year that I won. One of my mentors, she came up to me right after I had just gotten second runner up, and she was like very bold in my face, and she said, in a good way, but she was like, what is the one thing you need to work on for next year? And without a doubt, it was onstage question, as I felt like that was an area that I wasn't quite as strong as I could be. So I really, really focus on public speaking. And like, even now, every time that I have an opportunity to do a podcast interview or like do a Skype media hit, or speak to a group of younger students or whatever, even now that I'm not technically Miss Arizona, I view that as public speaking experience, because that's what I want to do for a living, as like press secretary and as like a correspondent to the news. And I think that again is one of the best skills that comes from the Miss America training, the Miss America competition, because you're right, normal pedestrians, they can't answer these hard questions. And the questions that they used to ask girls in Miss America 1.0, especially for the top 5, top 7 on stage question, were these insane political questions like, how do we solve the crisis of ISIS?
I know, I saw one.
That the president doesn't know that.
They asked one girl, like, how do we defeat the Assad regime? And her answer was actually incredible. And I was just like, I would need like to sit down for 30 minutes, contemplate it, and then come out with an eloquent answer. So, answering that kind of question with like not even 5 seconds to comprehend it is very difficult. But I think that the questions I saw within the last 2 years, the years that Nia and Camille won, they were much more platform focused, much more about the girl. And I think that's a little bit better. I like that change a lot.
Oh, I was just going to say that. I love that the 2.0 has shifted with their questions because I also think that that's so much more relevant to the job. I know I was the first Miss Arizona to win under the 2.0 platform, and all I knew that we could get some political questions or current event questions in the private interview, but I also knew that that wasn't necessarily going to come on stage. And we were asked questions relating to our social impact initiative and like what your plan is for the job, how you would do X, how you would fundraise for the princess program, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that that is so much better because that shows what kind of title holder you're going to be, especially for the before the judges make their final pick.
Mm-hmm. I so agree. I actually, a lot of people have things to say about the 2.0. I've always loved the Miss America organization. You mentioned you've always been a fan since you were young. So I appreciate every phase of it, but I do think that this phase is very relevant, and I'm happy to see where we are for sure. And how cool that you were able to win Miss Arizona as the first Miss Arizona 2.0. You made history. So I'm wondering, what was that moment like for you? What was winning Miss Arizona like? That must have been like so much emotions in one moment.
Yes, it was so much and nothing all at the same time. So that entire week, I was 24, so I wasn't technically aging out, but I was kind of treating it as like this is my last time I'm aging out. And the coach that I worked with, that I mentioned before, Heather Sumlin, our kind of mindset on the whole week was getting a second chance. And this was my second chance from last year because I was, even though I won all these awards, I only got second runner up.
I know, I heard you
And
double prelim and like social media award and among other awards, and I was like, hashtag robbed. But
no, it's okay. Everything happens for a reason. And
yeah,
I think I was much more suited to win the year that I did as opposed to the year before. But that being said, I just went in with this mindset of gratefulness. I was so grateful and happy to be there. I didn't like let anything bother me. I made friends with all of the girls. I just had the best time. And I was also always on point with every single phase of my competition. And I also feel like at that point it was like second nature because I had competed for 6 years. And in that moment, in the entire week, I just prayed for peace because I remember Nia Franklin saying when she won Miss America, that was a huge thing that she prayed for. And we share the same faith. And I was like, oh, that's actually a really good tip. So in that moment of the top 5 and down to the last 2, my first runner up and I are actually friends, and we had kind of made it our goal for us to be the last 2 standing. So it was really exciting for that to actually happen. And I gave her a hug and I told her that she would make a great Miss Arizona, and she said the same thing to me. And then they called her name as first runner up, and it was just like this huge wave of relief that came over me that I
yeah,
had won. That was the main emotion, and also just like being very excited. And I think that some girls ugly cry. I definitely have like a not a cute face in my crowning photo, but I also think it takes a little bit to sink in of, oh my gosh, I just won, especially after 6 years of working for
right.
it. And like, especially in the last year, just doing everything possible, like sacrificing everything in my life to make sure that I could be the best possible version of myself for this job.
Your perseverance certainly paid off. I think that's a really big takeaway is that, again, having the pleasure of interviewing so many different state title holders. Some girls have taken 7 years to win. Some girls won on their first try. Some girls were first runner up, and then their title holder was like, oh, I don't want to do this. So then they were like, okay, now I'm the winner. It's so
Right.
different. Um, but surely, you know, there are girls that in the history of Miss America have probably given up. I've said like, I've tried 3-4 years, it's just not working out. And I truly believe that how many years it takes doesn't really define how great of a title holder you are. It honestly just depends on what the judges were looking for that year, or it depends on certain areas you need to grow in, or it could depend on anything really. But surely some girls have given up on their third or fourth try because it's a lot of work. So for
Right.
you to compete 6 times, it's a lot of effort, it's a lot of time, it's a lot of dedication, but it's a testament to how hard work pays off for sure.
Definitely. Also a lot of money.
Yeah, a lot of money, a lot of pageant dress money, and a lot
Yeah.
of, spray tans, makeup.
Yes, but I don't know. I've loved every moment of it, and I wouldn't have changed anything, even the hard parts, because I think that when you go through struggles, it really defines your character and who you're going to be in hard times. And I think that's honestly more important for life than the happy times.
I actually agree with that 100%. That's another quote. Jacqueline, stop being so smart. I'm gonna.
You're being so nice. I also think that I've had a couple of these interviews lately, so I feel like I'm back in the groove of it and I have better things to say than my previous interviews.
She's like the Gandhi of the Silver Lining show. Seriously, guys, I have like 5 quotes written down. Like literally, like, are you kidding me? So now my next question is about Miss America. We talked a little bit about your experience, but I do want to know if you have anything else to say about your experience. You can also shed light on your Woman in Business Award if you want to touch more on that. But I'd just like to hear all about it.
Miss America was a very surreal experience after watching it from the sidelines for the last couple of years.
I bet, yeah.
So I was very grateful to be there. The staff treated us wonderfully. It was great to experience that and make friends and have fun. I think that compared to the other years, it was actually a pretty chill Miss America, because of the changes in the competition and the fact that we had less events. It was technically a shorter week than Miss America normally is as well, because it was so close to
It was one
Christmas.
week this year versus 2 weeks in
Yes.
Connecticut. Yeah.
And most of the advice that I had gotten was Miss America is going to be crazy. You're going to be so busy. You're going to be exhausted, blah, 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 whatever. And it was definitely exhausting, but I don't think that that was accurate advice for the Miss America that I was going into. So I don't know. They fed us really well. They treated us well. We definitely had free time. You could absolutely be caught up on sleep, which was really, really nice. And to be able to just get to that stage and share my Lady Leaders experience and my talent was a really amazing experience that I will forever be grateful for.
Now, my question is about, you mentioned that the Miss America week was different and how it was more calm, and that's all positive. But of course, there are iconic moments that did happen in Atlantic City. For a while, it was in Planet Hollywood too, but in Atlantic City, they have the Show Me Your Shoes parade and all that kind of stuff, and all sorts of different traditions. Did being a Miss America fan, like being an avid fan, like I am, and dreaming about it and thinking about it, did not having those experiences that you probably thought about for so long, and being in a different location than the iconic Atlantic City, did that hinder your experience at all, or did you take those differences in stride?
I would say that I didn't really think about the differences until a month or two after, when I kind of had
Okay.
time to digest and process what had just happened, because I think
Sure.
it does take a little bit, at least a month, to really kind of get back to normal. And sometimes
Yeah.
it takes 6 months until you're like officially done with your title to like figure out what your new normal is. But when I was competing for Miss Arizona, I just fully embraced 2.0 and was in the mindset that everything happens for a reason. This is great because of who I am personally, and like my career goals and academic endeavors, in a way that I think, I don't know if I would have won during the 1.0 format. So I'm very grateful in that sense. But looking back so that was my mindset going through Miss America,
It's a great
being
mindset.
just like being grateful, being thankful, having the best time possible, being on top of your competition game as much as possible. But I think in hindsight, it was definitely a little bit disappointing, especially regarding the evening gown. I have no obligation with taking out the swimsuit portion of the competition, especially with my job now. I'm actually really grateful that when you Google my name, a swimsuit picture doesn't pop up, because when you're sitting in a meeting with middle-aged men and they see Miss Arizona on your resume, they're going to Google you, or like people in your office are going to Google you. And that's like the easiest way to find anyone these days now as well. So I was actually very grateful for that change for what I want to do in my career. But I was definitely sad that we didn't have like just a traditional evening gown walk, and it wasn't really like the boardwalk in Atlantic City, just because I love the tradition that is Miss America. And that's
Right.
one of the reasons why I think it's so iconic and it's lasted so long. I thought that the final Miss America 2.0 stage was beautiful. That was done very well and as similar as it could be to Boardwalk Hall, but only barely 7 girls got to even compete on that stage, and like even less got the opportunity to do their talent on
I
that
did think
stage.
that was weird. Like there was a, for people that don't know or don't remember, because it was over a year ago now that Miss America was last aired, there was a final 15, and then
Hmm.
before any actually competing could happen, they cut out 8 of the girls so that only 7 of the girls competed in, OSQ, talent, and evening gown. So only 7 girls got the chance when normally it's 15, 10, and then so on and so forth.
Right. So I feel like there almost is no comparison to the years before because obviously you can only go one time,
Yeah.
and it was just from every single aspect was so different. But that being said, it was still Miss America. I'm still super grateful that I got to go, and I'm hopeful that this with Miss America 2.0, the organization can kind of find its stride and keep growing and bring in more girls.
For sure. And I think that the Miss America organization is certainly in the process of evolving, and there's been a lot of positive changes. And I think during this very hectic time in the world, it's trying to establish itself. So the next Miss America we see will probably be different than the last one,
Oh, it'll absolutely be different.
but
And one of the
it'll keep evolving for sure.
Absolutely. I'm very glad that they did bring evening gown back. So you'll get to compete in that your state competition. So I think also, like we talked about earlier, that's one of our favorite parts. That's a big reason why we wanted to do this because we can't wear gowns in normal life.
I know
Um,
all these pageant gowns. What are you gonna wear them for? I mean, when you're at the White House at like the Capitol Ball, you're like
I
spreading your
know.
stuff, then you'll be wearing your gown then. Trust
Oh,
me.
hopefully, if we ever have events again. Oh,
Oh no, we will. It doesn't seem like that right now because I've been locked in my house with my dogs for the past 7 months, but we'll get out there eventually.
I know. But I will say each state does their state competition a little bit differently than Miss America.
Yes.
So typically there's more of like, let's say the traditional Miss America experience within your state because you will get to, experience the state week, wear your evening gown, things like that. But also the leaders that were in charge of 2.0, the woman who was the CEO during that time, she's currently not in that position anymore. But they even told us
Yes.
at Miss America, this is just kind of an experiment, and next year's Miss America isn't going to look like that. But even traditionally, if you look at the Miss Americas year after year, they always change something. And that's also why it's hard to make a comparison or say like what your experience was.
Yes, I agree with that. And I do think that, like we both said, we love this organization. We have so much faith in it. And I do think it will establish itself, and certain things will change year by year. But I think this period of drastic changes won't always last forever. And I am excited to see what happens, especially after being absent for a year, which was a very smart decision on part of Miss America. I'm excited to see what they do after all of this. It should be very interesting.
Yes, me too, especially as they celebrate officially the 100th anniversary.
I know, it's pretty crazy stuff. I can't wait to compete again. I'm so excited. And I know Jacqueline will be watching from DC, the Miss Florida being live streamed, and she's going to be rooting for me.
Oh,
Uh,
yes.
we
Yes,
don't have to,
100%.
she'll be like hashtag Julia Fight. Of course. So my last question for you, this has been so much fun. My last question for you is, my show's title is The Silver Lining, which is all about finding the good in every situation, which, as I've mentioned before, you obviously do. So I'm wondering what your silver lining is through your work with pageants. In short, what was the best part of this whole journey to you?
The best part, without a doubt, was the people that I got to meet and the personal growth. And I feel like those are very much at a tie because whenever people ask me this question, what's the best part? I always automatically say the amazing people that I've gotten to meet and work with over the last 7 years that I never would have met otherwise. And I think that that also has a tie with the personal development because I also use my entire experience as Miss Arizona to become the woman that I always wanted to be. I think that I had this vision when I was graduating from high school and early college of what this program could teach me as a woman. And I used this entire process over the last 7 years to become the person that I always wanted to be. And I feel like that's really been a holistic inside out transformation, which I feel like you have to be committed to if you're really serious about winning a state title.
Right. I think that you have been such an amazing representative for your state. You obviously have gained so much wisdom throughout your year, and like you said, the people you got to meet and the personal growth. I think the organization, what's most important about it to me is that the way you change when you become a title holder. You mentioned several times that you didn't like public speaking and that you're actually very introverted, but I would never have guessed because you're so good at public speaking and you're so good at promoting your cause. And well, you're going to be famous, obviously. Uh,
I don't know about that.
I already know it. You better remember me when you're famous, and shout me out. But honestly, it has been such a joy interviewing you. You are absolutely amazing. I am so excited I got to meet you, and I will definitely be promoting you and following you and keeping up with your professional path now that your year as Miss Arizona is over. But you are forever Miss Arizona, and I know you will take those life skills with you with your amazing career path.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you so much for having me. I loved our talk.
Thank you so much. And guys, if you're not following Jacqueline, I'm going to make sure you do. So follow her right now. Right now. Yeah. Okay. Click the follow button. Thanks. And follow me. Shameless plug. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.